Okay, so today we are talking about the found family trope, or not really talking about, I'm just gonna recommend you a bunch of books. Found family is my favorite trope of all time. I mean, my favorite tropes are always to do with relationships. Almost always to do with relationships. Found family, best friends, biological family that have really close ties and strong loyalty. The big guy I did a video on, which is, character archetype trope. Anything that has to do with loyalty, that has to do with characters that would die for each other, characters that love each other on a level that is, I don't know, man. Relationships are a big thing for me, and relationship dynamics and loyalty and love and sacrifice and devotion and like unwavering trust to your comrades. I eat it up. I love it. I love it so much. So these are books that I think do it well. It's kind of a long list, so I'm gonna breeze through them quickly, especially since a lot of them are books that I've talked about a lot on my channel. Some of them talk about a little bit less, but I'm gonna breeze through them fairly quickly, give you a quick synopsis, and talk about how they do it really well since it's such a long list. But these are a bunch of books that I think do the found family trope really well, and that I love because I love relationship writing, relationship dynamics, devotion, loyalty. I'm obsessed with it. I eat it up. I'm also going to have some links to a couple of other videos that give recommendations for found family list. So if you want to see books beyond what I've read, what other people are recommending, they'll be linked in the description as well. But before we enter the list, a shout out to today's sponsor, Squarespace. From websites to online source to marketing tools to analytics, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that helps you to build your website and grow your business. But we'll talk more about them at the end of the video. Kicking it off with Ove, A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman, one of my 2 favorite books by him. And, so I have a whole review for this book. I'm in love with it. But A Man Called Ove is about this grumpy old man who just wants to be left alone. He just wants everybody to leave him alone so he can live out the rest of his life and just be done. He's cranky, he's jaded, he's judgmental, and he's rude. And very slowly, Bachman helps us to understand this man on a deeper level, therefore deeply fall in love with him. And I didn't know what I expected out of this book, but I did not expect my favorite trope to show up and to blow me away. The found family in this story makes me so happy because Bachman spent so much time helping me to understand this character and to love him so much that when the world started coming around him, it was really great to read. The Lies of Locke Lamora. I know, it's a surprise that this is on here. If you didn't know, I'm doing a read-along for The Lies of Locke Lamora. I'll link that video right there if you want to check it out. You should read it with me if you feel like it, because The Gentleman Bastards is my favorite series of all time. And I'm really excited to read it again and put up videos that are way too long of me just saying how much I love it. Anyway, The Lies of Locke Lamora follows Locke and Jean, 2 best friends who are orphans who were at a very young age. They became a part of this group full of swindlers and thieves, children that were raised and brought up to be excellent thieves and liars. And they have this family. They have this brotherhood about them that is just my favorite thing. This book is hilarious. It follows guys that aren't the coolest of guys. I mean, they're definitely not the heroes, but really no one in the story is a hero, so it's fine. It's hilarious. The loyalty of this crew and what they go through together and what they do for each other, just, it gets me. And I like pretty much everything about this book. Howl's Moving Castle, which is a middle grade. I don't typically love middle grade, but I really enjoyed this one. Follows a girl in a rough position, and she ends up finding herself in this odd situation where she is in this moving castle. There's strange characters and creatures and demons that she gets to know and slowly chips away at a friendship, and it just turns into this very wholesome, wonderful set up with characters that I strangely love too much. I don't know. Middle grade isn't a genre I read, or an age group that I read very much, and it's not one that I typically enjoy when I do read it, but Howl's Moving Castle is so good. Also the movie. I love the movie too. Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. It follows a young girl in a very difficult and dark situation, and she ends up joining this cast of thieves and, you know, not good guys who are trying to overthrow the empire, trying to overthrow the Dark Lord. And she is very jaded and closed off, and a lot of walls around her in the beginning because of what she's gone through. And very slowly, this cast of really cool people ends up making their way into her life and into her heart. And I really love this crew. I really love this group of people, but I really also just latch on to Vin a lot. And seeing her go from standing solo, because that's what you do to survive and because no one can be trusted, to realizing that there are people she can lean on, it just, it gets me. Whew. Shout out also to Stormlight Archive and the Mistborn era too, and pretty much anything Sanderson writes. He really loves found family and building up relationships and trust, and this is just a theme for him, which is why I probably tend to love most of what he writes. Joe Abercrombie is another author that I can kind of just recommend as a whole. He creates these dark worlds full of very, very morally gray characters. Another story where there's not really any heroes, and even the characters you end up rooting for are characters that are not great, and you don't really want them to win, but you do want them to win because you just see their humanity despite what they do in these dark situations. And he always creates a cast of very unique characters, and a lot of times the way they kind of come together despite each other, or they get each other's backs. And I love the way he writes it. I think Best Served Cold and The Heroes are definitely two shining points where you have a group of people that snip at each other and fight and argue, but that are there, like they've got each other's backs, and I really like their dynamics a lot. One Piece is a series that has taken over my life. We start out with Luffy, one character who has a dream and who needs a crew of people to help him accomplish this dream, his dreams. And so he meets people along the way, and he's collecting his crew, and it all feels lighthearted and fun and like a nice gathering, assembling of the crew, and it's great. But they 1000% move from a friend group to a family, and this is a crew of people that will always have each other's back, that will do anything to do anything for each other, to fight for each other's safety, to fight for each other's dreams, just to protect each other's emotions. They are so wholly invested in the group as a whole. I'm big on loyalty. Loyalty is a huge theme for me, and loyalty is a huge theme in this story. The kind of loyalty that you would stand there and you'll stand there in a situation where you know you'll die, but it doesn't matter because you're standing by your crewmate. I don't know, man. This series does found family and loyalty and standing by each other no matter what, and sacrificing for one another so well. Peter Pan! I have a whole review for Peter Pan, and it's hard for me to spoiler-free discuss the level of found family, the level of love I have for this found family. But you have something that I love, which is biological siblings who are there for each other, who love each other, who, they snip at each other, they're not perfect, but at the end of the day, they'll never leave each other behind. I love that dynamic. And then you have bringing in a whole group of other people, Peter and the Lost Boys, that become an enlarging of their family. Like the family, the sibling dynamics end up all embracing more people. And I love that. I love that dynamic of the found family trope. All that is wonderful. But the thing that makes this book tops for me is the ending and the found family that happens in the last chapters of the book. So I can't really say anything beyond that. If you've read Peter Pan, check out my review. I'm a mess because this one hits me real hard. Percy Jackson. Again, I don't read a lot of middle grade. Middle grade typically isn't the thing that hits me the hardest. But one thing that Percy Jackson did very, very, very well is the relationship dynamics. The kids that become a crew. Crew's the wrong word for this context. These kids that come together and have each other's backs. These kids that will do anything to rescue each other, to make sure that they're okay, and to do anything to help each other accomplish their dreams, accomplish their tasks, and to get them out of situations of peril, which, you know, they're demigods and they're fighting monsters a lot, so that happens quite frequently. And I really love their dynamics. I love the way they're always there for each other and the sacrifices they make for each other. The Lunar Chronicles. I read this one a long time ago and I adored it at the time. If I read it now, I don't know how strong I would feel about it, but if you're into YA, I think you should give it a go. These are 4 books and each book focuses on a different main character. So we start with Cinder, and this is a Cinderella retelling, and Kai, the Prince Charming, and it's a Cinderella retelling, so, you know, she has the bad family dynamic and escaping from that situation, as well as some sci-fi elements involved. And then book 2 follows, it's a Red Riding Hood retelling. Book 3 is Rapunzel retelling, and book 4 is Snow White retelling. And each time you have different main characters that you're following, but with each book, the new main characters come together with the old main characters, and the cast builds and builds, and it was done really well. And the way this group of different people rely on each other and sacrifice for each other and love each other and fight for each other I loved it so much. I mean, I read these books years ago, and I still so vividly remember so much of them because of how much these people fought for each other and were there for each other. Like, that's the stuff that stands out in my mind forever. Lord of the Rings is an obvious one, and Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite series, but this fellowship of people that have this mission that they're sacrificing their lives for and that they'll do anything to see accomplished. But on top of that, that will do anything for each other and to protect one another. The relationships, like the depth of relationships that are formed over this time, over this journey, I love it. I love it so much because it's not just the dynamic of the hobbits protecting the ring and then, you know, the stronger people protecting the hobbits and protecting the ring. It's not just that, but it's also the dynamics of like Gimli and Legolas, which are 2 races that naturally don't jive, and they start out with this prejudice against each other, but then create this brotherhood. And it's love it. House in the Cerulean Sea definitely has a soft spot for me, specifically because it's about this foster home of magical orphans, and, you know, this has a big found family vibe. Do anything for each other, protect each other, do what we can to be there for each other despite everything that's happening around us and the way the world views us. It has that vibe to it, but then also just like the theme of adoption. This is a softer story than I typically read. I don't know how else to put that. It's very lighthearted. It's very feel good, and I typically don't read this type of like light and happy story. Makes me sound bad, but whatever. I don't. So as far as like the tone of the story, it didn't fit me perfectly, but the relationships and the overarching themes of adoption and found family cut straight to my heart. And I'm ending this recommendation list on not a book, a show, Avatar. Again, it has that awesome theme that I like of siblings that don't work perfectly together. They bicker, they snipe at each other, but at the end of the day, they will always be there for each other. And then them, due to kind of a collision of circumstances, embracing more into their group, into their family, and the siblings together widening their family circle. I love it. I love it. Like, I love sibling relationships in books that are solid, that will always be looking out for each other. But I also love, sorry, now I'm just really stuck on this one scene that happened in one episode where it's like this side quest episode that's totally not necessary for the plot of the story, and the rest of the characters recognize this is a side plot. We don't need to stay here any longer, but Katara is like, I have to stay here and I have to help these people. And Sokka says, okay, I will never leave you behind. I will never, I'll never not be next to you. So even though this doesn't make sense for us to stay here any longer, and this isn't our problem, I'm by your side and I'll help you accomplish this, because that's what we are. That's what we will always be. I mean, that wasn't his line. I'm super paraphrasing him, but I love their relationship. And then I love when two siblings widen their family together, or multiple siblings widen their family together. It's just good stuff. Okay, now you have a list of awesome series and books to look into where the found family vibes are strong. Now, an ad. Oh, hello. I am a very popular, very talented graphic designer. I make book covers for lots of very successful books. But in order to drum up business, I did have to make a website. I was dreading it, I'll admit, until I found Squarespace. I thought showing my work would be a nightmare, but with Squarespace's powerful blogging tool, I can share stories, photos, videos, and updates on what I'm working on. I can categorize, share, and schedule my posts to make my content work for me. Squarespace also has appointment scheduling, which means that when clients see how amazing my work is, they can book for my services online through my Squarespace website easily. And the most important feature, the Squarespace also has a feature for collecting donations. Support your cause by gathering contributions through PayPal, Apple Pay, Stripe, and Venmo. This is especially important because I don't get a lot of business. So head over to squarespace.com for your free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the link in my description for 10% off your first website or domain. Be successful at what you love, like I have. There you go, that is my list of found family books. Don't forget to check out the other booktubers that will be linked in the description, where they do their list of found family as well. Be sure to chat with me more about this in the comments. Are there any books that you want to recommend to me with found family? It's my favorite trope. I will definitely be watching the comments for that. I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. I'll see you again soon. Bye.